Again, and hot temperatures, highs around 90. But again for today, 50-50 shot of some rain, mostly cloudy otherwise, a high 85, 72 at WPKY.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Big John's Barbecue. Time to take a look at community news here on 1580 103.3 WPKY. This morning's community news is brought to you by Community Medical Clinic.
Well, WPKY impacts are still asking for your help with the temperatures rising in our area, actually up to 91 today. The elderly are not always prepared for the heat. Though the month of June, drop off a fan at our WPKY studios Monday through Friday for distribution to the elderly in our area that need it the most, just in time for the heat wave. Neighbors helping neighbors with PAX and 1580 103.3 WPKY.
It's officially summer. Nothing tastes more like summer than fresh peaches. Get your box of fresh peaches from the Caldwell County High School football team. Benefit the kids in your neighborhood. Just ask the Caldwell County football player how they can get your box of fresh sweet peaches headed your way.
Join Nani's Place and Chico's for a charity fashion show with door prizes, shopping, sangria, appetizers, and more. That's today at 5:30 p.m. Grand River Senior Citizen Center, 155 West Cumberland Street in Grand Rivers. Tickets are $25 and benefit Nani's Place, giving women and families a safe place.
Get ready for Barn Bash featuring Quiva, Blaine Howard, and special guest Cassidy Knight Friday, June 28th at 7 p.m. at the West Kentucky State Fair Convention Center. Doors open at 6:30, showtime at 6:45. The concert is free with your paid gate admission. Includes door prizes and surprises throughout the night. Donations received during the concert will benefit Pennyroyal Hospice Living to the fullest.
Big Hearts Farms VBS coming to Unity Baptist Church in Fredonia. That started yesterday, but it runs through the 28th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. Transportation is available each night. For more information, call 270-350-6957.
Grab your buddies. The Princeton Rotary Club and Princeton Caldwell County Chamber of Commerce tees off its four-person golf scramble Friday, July 12th. Registration is at 11, tee time 11:30. Prizes for first and second place teams and prizes per hole. Entry includes a sack lunch, skirt, and mulligan per player. Registration now open. Deadline July 1st.
Get ready for a Farm City breakfast at First Baptist Church Christian Life Center in Princeton on Saturday, July 3rd, with meet and greet starting at 7:30 and breakfast at 8 a.m. featuring keynote speaker Nick Carter. Tickets must be purchased in advance by July 3rd at the Caldwell County Cooperative Extension Office. All proceeds benefit the Caldwell County Feeding God's Children backpack program.
And 10th Annual Summer Slam featuring the Freemans, Torrin Wells, Colton Dixon, The Color at 445 the Butler Lawn in Princeton, inflatables, concessions, and family attractions. Kick it all off at noon on the 27th. Join WPKY. For more information, 963-0671.
Get spruced up with quality mulch from Bashir Sawmill on Dawson Road in Princeton. We all know that buying mulch by the truckload saves money, and it's only $25 per load for dark natural mulch at Bashir Sawmill on Dawson Road, 1/2 mile past City County Park. Bashir Sawmill also buys standing timber and timberland. Give them a call today, 270-365-2330. That's Bashir Sawmill, family owned and operated in Princeton for over 50 years.
He gets up early to make sure the ball fields are ready for the Little League game. She stays late and arrives early to make sure the food pantry is stocked and ready to help those in need. These unsung heroes don't do it for recognition. They do what they do because they love this community. They're hometown heroes. WPKY, along with Princeton Drug, want a chance to celebrate what these selfless folks do to make our community a better place. Nominate the hometown hero in your life. Go to WPKYonline.com to place your nomination.
A taste of the Orient and authentic Chinese food await you at the Great Wall Chinese Restaurant in Princeton. Enjoy the lunch buffet Monday through Saturday, 11 to 3:30, and the dinner buffet from 3:30 to 9. Friday and Saturday night, enjoy the seafood buffet featuring onion shrimp and frog legs. Be sure to ask for your coupon card. Buy 9 buffets and get 1 free. Dine in or carry out at the Great Wall. Open daily 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. Located in the Princeton Plaza off Highway 62, West Princeton.
It's time for your SportsEdge.com Sideline Report with Todd Griffin. Talking sports and more here on 1580 103.3 WPKY and worldwide at WPKYonline.com. Here's your host, Todd Griffin.
Good morning, everyone. The Sideline Report is on the air from 1035 West Main Street in Princeton, the WPKY studios, and A full house for the show today. We've got in studio Gary Goodaker. Gary, good morning. Thanks for coming on the show this morning.
Pleasure to be here.
Also, Ty Englebright sitting in with us today, and Ty is like the Warren Zevon of the Sideline Report.
Oh, werewolves of the Sideline Report, I guess.
You know, there's a knock-knock joke there. You know, it's a knock-knock.
I don't know it.
Oh.
Who's there? How about that?
Ah.
Ha? Who?
Werewolves of London. Yes,
Werewolves of London.
I really...
I'm slow, man. I got to get caffeinated.
And also with us on the show
That's
this
great.
morning, on the telephone, is Chris George. Chris, good morning. Thanks for joining us today. Well, I don't have Chris, Ty, so we'll see if we can work on that a little bit and get him on the phone.
Nope.
Whoops, lost him. Guess I have to make that call back.
That's
So,
all right. Well, we can pan it out. We got all kinds of great stuff to talk about here.
Lots to do on the Sideline Report today. We've got a top 5 coming up just a little bit later on in the show, so we're not going to tell you what it is just yet. We'll make you wait for that, and we're going to get Chris George back on the line and be back with a lot more on the Sideline Report. We're going to take a break right now. We will continue on the Sideline Report here on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Need cash fast? Get the money you need. Call ABC Finance now.
What if you go to get your mower out and it won't start, or the honey-do list of repairs around the house seems to keep growing?
Whatever it is, you want to resolve your problem quickly and get back to your regular life.
Hi, this is Jody Lamb at the Princeton ABC Finance location,
And this is Todd Morris at the Hopkinsville location.
and we can help you buy a new mower or take care of those honey-dos.
At ABC Finance, we provide loans up to $15,000.
We are locally owned and staffed, and decisions are made quickly, usually within an hour.
No appointment is needed and walk-ins are welcome.
You can even give us a call and we can take your application over the phone,
Or you can apply online at abcfinanceonline.com.
and like us on Facebook.
ABC Finance in Hopkinsville on Fort Campbell Boulevard next to O'Charlie's, and in Princeton Plaza. ABC Finance. All loans subject to normal credit approval.
He gets up early to make sure the ball fields are ready for the Little League game. She stays late and arrives early to make sure the food pantry is stocked and ready to help those in need. These unsung heroes don't do it for recognition. They do what they do because they love this community. They're hometown heroes. WPKY, along with Princeton Drug, want a chance to celebrate what these selfless folks do to make our community a better place. Nominate the hometown hero in your life. Go to WPKYonline.com to place your nomination.
Peace, love, and music. It's hard to understate the impact of the 1969 Woodstock Music Festival on American culture and music.
Join Casey Jones Distillery and the Pennyroyal Arts Council and celebrate Woodstock's 50th anniversary with the Lights Out Festival featuring the Woodstock Rock Orchestra August 17.
Hopkinsville's own Mark Jones, Chip Graham, and Alonzo Pennington, and at least a dozen more seasoned musicians will take you on a musical journey through the performances of songs played by
The Who, Sly and the Family Stone, Joe Cocker, Led Zeppelin, Creedence Clearwater Revival,
the Beatles, Janis Joplin, Santana, the Rolling Stones, and many others.
General admission and a limited number of VIP tickets are available online at pennyroyalarts.org and CaseyJonesDistillery.com.
Or in person at the Alhambra Theater box office and at Casey Jones Distillery.
So make your plans now for the Lights Out Festival featuring the Woodstock Rock Orchestra August 17th at Casey Jones Distillery.
And special thanks to our lead sponsor, Budweiser.
Black Hawk Fireworks in Cadiz and Princeton. This is Ty Englebright. Want the biggest, baddest fireworks available in Kentucky and Indiana? You want Black Hawk Fireworks. Come see me Friday, June 28th at the old Pizza Hut in Princeton. 5-inch American Super Shells and popular Neon Super Shells, they are back. Adult Snap, M70s, and great deals. Buy one, get up to 4 free. For the biggest, baddest fireworks allowed by law at Black Hawk Fireworks. Come see me Friday, June 28th, 3 to 5 at the old Pizza Hut in Princeton. Get more info at blackhawkfireworks.com.
Treasures Remembered Florist and Greenhouse, serving families in good times and bad times. They offer fresh bouquets and sympathy arrangements, custom wreaths and silk arrangements. They have a wonderful selection of gifts, sympathy items, unique wall art, frames and framed prints, birdhouses, candles, wind chimes, and more. Open Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5, and Saturday, 8:30 to noon. Treasures Remembered Florist and Greenhouse, 600 West Locust Street, Princeton, serving Princeton and Caldwell County for over 100 years.
are back on the Sideline Report on a Thursday morning at 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Todd Griffin in the WPKY studios. Gary Goodaker in the house. Ty Englebright with us as well this morning. And we're going to try the phone thing one more time and say good morning to Chris George, who's joining us on the phone. Chris, how's it going? Well, and we still don't have Chris, so a little issue with the phone this morning. I'm trying to check here, Ty, and see if it's me, but I think everything is all lined up and ready to go. So just a little issue with the telephone not wanting to cooperate with us today. So we'll check on that. We got Ty as my engineer this morning. Good thing he's here in here with us on the show. And let's see, which is the mystery button?
Yeah, I think it looks like he should be there.
Okay.
So we'll just try to talk. Tell
all
him
right.
to stand by, and then
we'll try to get him back in just a little bit, and hopefully get some good information from Chris today from Bowling Green or wherever he is.
He's in cyberspace.
Yeah, he's
out in cyberspace, floating around out there somewhere.
But we do have Gary with us. We got Ty with us this morning, and thanks for joining us on the show. Gary, first of all, I want to ask you about your U15 team. How is that coming along? Doing a little coaching this summer in the youth baseball ranks, and you say you've got a game coming up.
Well, we've got a doubleheader in Marion pending the weather, of course, but there were two U15 baseball teams that were able to play. The weather's been not very cooperative, and also you've got the issue with this year, a lot of teams are folding. Lyon folded and had to combine with Crittenden. Union did not field a team. I think that baseball is going to have a problem competing with many of the other sports during the non-dead period of the summer. And this is what we're finding, is that some of the other sports are getting very, very full summer schedules, as you're well reporting on your Sports Edge. You can see the basketball, you can see the football workout, soccer, and I think that this is going to be an issue going forward with some of the Babe Ruth baseball. There's just such a crowded schedule for an athlete anymore trying to play more than one sport.
Apparently we do have Chris on the phone. We're just having a little trouble getting him on the air this morning. So, again, got Ty working on that. And, Gary, I was watching baseball last night, and, of course, my Cardinals have lost 3 in a row now. And I get a little disappointed when that happens, and went to Facebook last night and posted, Cardinals are kind of tough to love right now, but on the plus side, the St. Louis Blues are still the Stanley Cup champions, so still celebrating that. And got to looking, and, St. Louis has actually won championships, not just the World Series, not just the Stanley Cup, but also the Super Bowl and the NBA championship. So I got to wondering just how many teams or how many cities that applies to that have won championships in 4 major sports.
I saw your post. I haven't tried to make a list, but you would think most of the major cities of size will have done that. Now, Philadelphia probably joined that. I'm sure the Flyers won at least one time probably in their career, but you get the Eagles. They may now have joined the list because the Sixers won in the 80s and the Phillies won in 1980, I know, and 2008 or 2009. They won one of those years.
And it just kind of depends on how you phrase that. If you say Super Bowl, it brings in a whole different thing than if you just say championship.
Correct.
Because Philadelphia was on the list as an NFL champion,
right?
But they did not win a Super Bowl until 2018. So that's kind of the thing there. And got to looking, and I came up with 8 cities that qualify, but Detroit is kind of on that.
Because they've won a championship,
right,
but not a Super Bowl.
The Detroit Lions have an NFL championship. They actually have 4 of them,
right,
but they've never won the Super Bowl.
But Red Wings and the Pistons
and
the Tigers all qualified before.
So there you go.
You may be waiting a while on that one
for
the Lions.
Well, you said you saw the post, so do you remember which city has made the list?
No, I did not.
Okay, I've got them here. It's New York. New York is on there.
Yes.
Obviously, Boston.
Yes.
If you count the Patriots as Boston, and we do. So Boston's on the list. Also got Philadelphia, as you mentioned. Right. Chicago is on there. Yes. Los Angeles, of course, the Kings several years back with Wayne Gretzky won the NHL thing, which would have been the tricky one for Los Angeles. Washington, D.C. is on the list.
Yes. The Capitals won, last year? Was it last year they won?
Was it the year before last? I can't remember.
Right. I think they beat Vegas last year.
So they're on the list. That one surprised me a little bit because the Senators was like 1928 or something like that. But
that's the World Series. Yes, they got one.
So they're on there, and now add St. Louis to that. I'd never realized that before.
Well, until the Blues won. Now I found it interesting. The Blues made those 3 Stanley Cup Finals, but in a way that was an expansion division. After the original 6. There were 6 expansion teams, and all of them were placed in the Western Conference. So one of them was going to make the Stanley Cup Finals, and for the first 3 years it was St. Louis, but they could not win a title in those 3 opportunities.
Just kind of interesting that St. Louis only has the 2 major sports teams now, in the Cardinals and the Blues, but the St. Louis Hawks won an NBA championship, and of course
the St. Louis Rams.
The St. Louis Rams were Super Bowl champions one year. So there you go, 8 cities make the list, again, if you count the NFL championships, and if you say Super Bowl, it's only 7. So I found that interesting.
Well, a lot of that is the fact that most of those cities are the large metropolitan areas of them. St. Louis probably is the smallest of all of those.
Right.
So you're looking at the fact that the bigger, and of course some of those cities have multiple teams to win, multiple chances, 2 basketball teams or 2 baseball teams, so you increase your probabilities there.
So again, just a fun list to put together, and I'm a little surprised at myself for not figuring that out sooner, because kind of a bit of a rarity there. And Ty, I just heard something there as he's working on the phone, so you can bring him in now. All right, Chris, are you on the phone with us? Hello, Chris, can you hear us? I think I can actually hear him, Ty, but I'm not sure if he can hear us. All right. Let's take another break here on the Sideline Report. We're going to do a little work, and working really hard to see if we can get Chris George on the telephone this morning. And Ty Englebright is here with us as well. Gary Goodaker on the show this morning. So we'll roll on with the Sideline Report right after this timeout on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Here's your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast calling for a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the day, clearing in the evening with a high near 91. 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms before 10 p.m. tonight, partly cloudy overnight with a low around 70. Sunshine returns tomorrow with a high near 90. Patchy fog before 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, otherwise sunshine lasting all weekend. Highs in the lower 90s with your next real chance of rain returning on Tuesday. Again, a few clouds and a small chance of scattered showers throughout the day today, early clearing to only a 20% chance of showers this afternoon and a high near 91.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Herb Hayes Furniture.
It's summertime and the air conditioner is running non-stop. Hard to believe in a few short months it'll be time to turn on the heat. Fortner Gas is offering a great summer special right now. That means the lowest priced propane of the year. Now is the time to take advantage and get propane tanks filled at the lowest price of the year. Customers can also pre-buy for winter at a locked-in rate. Call Fortner Gas in Princeton today.
The Sideline Report continues on 1580, 103.3 WPKY. Thanks for joining us this morning. Still working to get Chris George on the telephone. We got Ty on the phone, and our problem is Chris hearing us and not us hearing Chris, apparently. So,
Come in, Chris.
Good morning, Chris.
He can't hear us.
He can't hear us, so we're going to do some more work.
We're going to feed him down the line here and see if he can't get him on the line. I had him just a second ago.
Okay, we're still working to get Chris on the phone, so we'll continue with the Sideline Report. As a matter of fact, we're going to take another break here. We're going to get this figured out and continue with the Sideline Report. Got lots to talk about, so we're going to work through our problems here. Stay with us. Back after this on the Sideline Report on 1580, 103.3 WPKY.
Here's your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast calling for a 30% chance of showers and thunderstorms throughout the day, clearing in the evening with a high near 91. 20% chance of showers and thunderstorms before 10 p.m. tonight, partly cloudy overnight with a low around 70. Sunshine returns tomorrow with a high near 90. Patchy fog before 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, otherwise sunshine lasting all weekend. Highs in the lower 90s with your next real chance of rain returning on Tuesday. Again, a few clouds and a small chance of scattered showers throughout the day today, early, clearing to only a 20% chance of showers this afternoon and a high near 91.
Your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast is brought to you by Cozy Living Interiors.
Get into shape and feel good at Trilogy Performance Sports. Trilogy is a family-friendly environment that offers a wide range of classes to reach your fitness and well-being goals. Whether you're into yoga, gymnastics, sports training, team training, cardio, kickboxing, or weightlifting, Trilogy has something for the whole family. Family discounts available, and your first 2 weeks are free. Located in Princeton behind Cash Express. Be better than you used to be at Trilogy Performance Sports.
He gets up early to make sure the ball fields are ready for the Little League game. She stays late and arrives early to make sure the food pantry is stocked and ready to help those in need. These unsung heroes don't do it for recognition. They do what they do because they love this community. They're hometown heroes. WPKY, along with Princeton Drug, want a chance to celebrate what these selfless folks do to make our community a better place. Nominate the hometown hero in your life. Go to WPKYonline.com to place your nomination.
Since 1978, Perry's Floors & More has been selling, installing, and servicing homeowners throughout Western Kentucky with quality flooring and workmanship. Perry's Floors & More carries luxury vinyl plank and luxury vinyl tile, carpet, window treatments, and more. Brands like Mannington, Shaw, Tarkett, Beaulieu, and Flexitech. Quality brands, excellent customer service, combined with 40 years experience is why they say you can walk on our reputation. See Bill and Lucy at Perry's Floors & More, 127 West Market Street, Princeton.
Okay, we are back on the Sideline Report and a little more optimistic now that we have Chris George on the phone. It's been a lot of work, you know. Todd's put in a lot of effort.
Oh, yeah. I'm the greatest engineer in the world.
We think we have Chris.
Chris,
are you with us?
I can hear you.
Yes.
I worked magic.
No.
I was getting frustrated, Todd. I could tell. I can only imagine
It's
what's
called-
going on in the studio.
It's called hitting the right button sometimes.
You just have to stand in the right spot sometimes.
It happens sometimes, but hey, we're professionals and we got it done.
So, Chris George is with us on the phone. Gary Goodaker is in the studio. Ty Englebright is in the studio. Thanks for everybody for hanging on with us this morning. And, we've got lots of show to go. And Chris, where are you calling from this morning, and what's happening where you're at?
Right now I'm looking out. I'm 42 stories above the I-85 in Atlanta, looking out the window.
Okay, so I'm guessing there's a baseball game involved at some point.
No, Braves aren't at home. They're in Chicago playing Gary's Cubs.
Oh, wow. Well,
kind of sucks.
One of the reasons I wanted you on the show was so we could all talk a little baseball today, and we do have a top 5 coming up a little bit later on. It's our top 5 Major League Baseball players not on our favorite team. So it's a little complicated, but in other words, I can't list 5 Cardinals. Ty and Chris can't run off a bunch of Braves. Gary can't do the Cubs. It's 5 players not on our favorite team. We're going to get to that a little bit later on, but Chris, I know you've been hitting the Major League Baseball stadium circuit. How many stadiums are you up to now?
I am up. I have 9 remaining.
Wow. That's pretty good.
With plans to knock off 5 of those this year.
Really? So you'll be down to 4 by the end of the year.
By the end of the year. Hopefully by the end of the month, I will have been to every National League park.
Wow. That's pretty good. And I'm guessing with some teams, it's probably been multiple stadiums.
Say again, Todd?
With some teams, you've seen more than one stadiums come and go?
Not yet.
So with St. Louis, did you see Busch Stadium?
I didn't get Old Cardinal Stadium. I didn't get Busch Stadium, no.
Oh, okay. So I just want to know how you were checking those off. That's still a pretty impressive list. And what's your favorite stadiums that you've visited so far?
Well, that's funny. I was telling somebody a couple of weeks ago, I asked the same question about best and worst, and I said by far Oakland is the worst. I understand why the Raiders and the A's went out of that dump.
Just is it just old?
Awful.
Is that the big thing?
It's just old and awful, and if it had been dark, I would have feared for my life walking out of the stadium. And I actually feared for my safety walking in, but I definitely would have feared for my life walking out had it been a night game.
So
it's just
So what's some of your favorite stadiums then? What are some of the better things you've witnessed?
I think the best is still, I think Camden Yards is still the standard bearer. You just can't beat it. And AT&T Park and PNC Park are right behind it. And later this summer, I'm supposed to get the ballpark at Arlington, which I hear is right up there as well. So, but Camden Yards, if anybody hasn't been to Camden Yards and you're a baseball fan, you've got to go to Camden Yards. I just can't explain it.
Hey, Chris, I mean, it's awesome that you're doing this. I have fantasies about doing it myself and just been in a few, but let me ask you this. You're a man after my own heart. Tell me about the food you're eating, man. Tell me about the best thing you've had to eat.
Most stadiums aren't, the food's not that great.
Really? I mean, you're a connoisseur of everything fried, and I mean, I see this is stuff you eat, man. So give me something good from one of the parks that you've had.
I think probably one of the best here is SunTrust. And Todd, I'm sorry, I'm incorrect. SunTrust and Turner Field for the Braves.
Okay, there you go. Okay.
At SunTrust, they've got probably the best hamburger in the world. It's a local deal, and it's always a line for this hamburger, and it is phenomenal. With they make their own pickles, and it is just phenomenal. Baltimore, again, I can't say enough good things. Their food was pretty good, but I can tell you the most disappointing thing, Todd, food wise. You hear, as you watch ball games on TV, so forth, you hear people talk about certain things or run into other fans. People talking about a Dodger dog.
Yep.
When I went to L.A. to see the Dodgers, I was excited. Got friends of mine in California talk about Dodger dogs. It's just a hot dog. I mean, I was so let down. I had lifted this Dodger dog up so high on a pedestal because it was a Dodger dog.
See, Chris, it's all marketing.
But
in everything,
it ruined something for me, Gary.
It may have, but they don't care. They got your money. And that's how marketing works, is they give you unrealistic expectations, and we fall for it. That's how the world works.
I did.
We hype. We're hype masters. We all know that.
But boy, when those expectations
it was
work
a
out
Dodger
for
dog.
A Dodger dog. I love it.
It's a Dodger dog.
Yeah. That's a classic. I think I would have been like you, Chris, and had gotten there, heard about it, read articles about it, and then it's just a hot dog. Yep, been right there with you, man.
Dog. And it wasn't even an all beef hot dog. It was just a hot dog on the bun.
What are some things you've kind of enjoyed about going around and seeing the different ballparks, though, and what are maybe some of the different oddities that have kind of caught your eye?
I would say I enjoy just going mostly, unless I'm watching the team play the Braves, and usually if I try to catch somebody when they're playing the Braves, that kind of kills two birds with one stone for me. But I like watching other fans and how they interact, and just how they are a fan of their team, and different fans are different. Oakland, people really weren't into the game, but I tell you, if you go anywhere and somebody's playing the Dodgers or the Yankees, it's a madhouse. Dodger fans are nuts. I saw the Dodgers play Milwaukee, and it was more Dodger fans there than there were Milwaukee fans. Anytime the Yankees are playing somebody, it's usually more Yankee fans than the home team, and they're just nuts. I can't explain.
Well, that was one thing I was going to ask, is more about the fan interaction as well as parts of the country. Maybe I would expect California fans to be more laid back, but you said Dodger fans specifically are very
Dodger
intense.
fans are nuts.
But you would think a lot of it would be ebb and flow. I mean,
The Orioles, I'm sure in their heyday, had wonderful fans. Now I think I could probably go get a Camden Yards ticket for a taco and a Slurpee. So, I mean, I could get a row of them. As I joke with Ben, good seats still available in the 5th inning.
Yes.
So that's the key. I think you hit them at times where certain fan bases are going to be at a bottom, and I would think Baltimore right now would be among those at a bottom.
I've been to Baltimore twice, and both times I have this desire to catch a foul ball, so I always research the seating chart, trying to place myself where in prime foul ball territory, because I almost caught a foul ball once, guys, and it hit my hand. I did not get it. It bounced into the lap of an older guy sitting next to me, and he celebrated catching the foul ball, and I'm like, I turned to the person I was at the game with, like, he didn't catch that. I deflected that to him.
Hey,
so I've been bitter. I'm still bitter about that.
Hey, Chris, speaking of foul balls, we can all talk about this, but here lately, fans have been getting dinged. Of course, in Japan, in that league, they have fences up everywhere to protect fans, but there's been several incidences lately of fans getting hit and some of them being injured pretty bad. So what are our thoughts, guys, about that? Better fencing? What do we need to protect our fans?
Yeah, you have to extend the nets.
If you're in the lower level, you got to extend the net.
Yeah.
I think the technology is going to allow for the net to be stronger and yet more available for vision lines. There are the technology and the science. They're going to be able to make thinner netting that will allow for the fans to have the good experience but have the tensile strength to withstand the foul ball. I think it's just a matter of, as with many things, you sometimes have to have an unfortunate incident to make a change happen.
There's been several lately.
Well, and when we used to go to games, the thing was, pay attention. I mean, that's one of the biggest things.
It's on the ticket.
But there's so many things going on now at ball games, so many things to kind of it's
Cell
to
phones.
enhance the experience, but it also kind of serves as a distraction sometimes. And even when the guys are out there warming up sometimes, you're kind of in the line of fire. I mean,
and these people have cell phones, and they're buried in
You
them.
did it, Gary.
Cell phones have done it.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. I remember you were telling your story, Chris. I was in Atlanta in the late 80s, and I was down in the bullpen era, and Doyle Alexander was down there warming up. And there was a bunch of kids and all of us standing around, and Doyle decided to toss up his ball, And all I remember was just jumping up and shutting my eyes, and when I did, I fell back over a row of chairs.
Oh.
Okay, well, guess what? There were about 6 or 7
kids underneath me. And I remember just getting up, and I think I cut my arm and everything else. It just reacted, and I just saw a bunch of parents just shaking their heads. And I just wanted to crawl away from there.
But it's coming to the point where, like you said, the baseball, you can maybe even address this because obviously you've done this over a period of years. Would you say that from the big time you started this process to now that fan interaction / fan distraction has increased because the fields and the stadiums are trying to have this augmented, almost virtual reality experience to get fans, if nothing else?
I agree. It is at a baseball game. It is so much going on. You're just constantly looking at something, whether it's whatever they're playing on the board, the sound effects. Then everybody's got a phone in their hand taking pictures and posting stuff to their social media about their experience. It's nuts. You're lost. You can't just focus on one thing. And I am very specific about where I sit, so I know I can stay in the game, because I've learned over the years where you set forces how you have to watch the game. So if you set too far down, you have to turn in. So I always try to set between first and third base, or third and home plate and the first base, or home plate and third base, because that you can still look at the game sort of the way you're watching it from the bleachers at like a high school game or a college game, because you're not having to. You can still see the scoreboard, and you can still really interact with everything that is going on, but at time of pitch, focus in on the pitch. Because the few times I've sat in the bleachers, I absolutely hate it.
It's probably because the bleachers, for the most part, you've got a different vantage point, but you also have a different mindset, I would think. I think the people who are looking to watch the game as you are sitting in those locations, and many of the ones sitting in the bleachers maybe are looking at it for more of a social aspect than a baseball watching aspect.
Hey, Chris,
and I hate sitting down the outfield lines, too, because I don't feel like I'm in the game.
Hey, Chris, which stadiums are you still missing on your list, and are there any on there that you would thought you'd have picked up by now?
I am missing Philadelphia, which I have plans to get in this month or next month. That is my lone National League stadium. I am missing, and I'm not in my office, so I can't look at my little board because I have oh, wait a minute, I may have a picture of it.
Yeah, you've got it on your Facebook page.
I'm missing Kansas City.
Well, Gary's got you there because
Fenway,
Gary's been to Kansas City.
Kansas City, for being a small market team and the stadium being one of the oldest ones, is actually been renovated, and it's very nice. I think you'll find it to be, obviously the Royals are not very good right now, but if you get them in the near future, I think you'll find it to be a nice environment. And it's relatively inexpensive because it's a small market team, but they do a good job.
I may also have an opportunity to knock it out in July as well. Not sure yet. Missing Fenway, Cleveland, Comerica, the Tigers, Minute Maid, the Astros, plans for that later in the year, hopefully. Target Field, the Twins, Ballpark at Arlington, the Rangers, plans for that, and the Rogers Center, which I just go, the two that are going to be toughest for me are probably going to be Cleveland, because I hate all things Cleveland, and just biting the bullet and flying to Canada.
Yeah.
But David Wilhelm and I said we're just going to wait till the next time the Braves play in interleague and just go and chill out in Canada and watch the Braves play.
Well, if you guys wait long enough, though, you can do a twofer and go to Canada and watch the Blue Jays and the Race-Pos. That's right. The Rays and the Expos. They'll be the Race-Pos.
That's nuts.
The Race-Pos. That is hilarious.
Or the X-Devils.
The X-Devils.
They could be the X-Devils.
The X-Devils.
So, yeah, apparently the Rays are actually they've thrown this out there that they're going to split part of the season, that they'll start the year in Florida and end the year in Canada. I'm not sure that's going to work, but it's an interesting
concept.
Yeah.
But that's baseball in Florida for you.
Okay,
in
so
a dome.
Now, talking about the Rays, you talk about a dump.
I've been to that one myself, yeah.
I felt like I was watching a baseball game in a warehouse.
The cool thing was, you could buy an upper level seat and then just walk right down and be right there on the third or first base line. That was the great thing about
I wish you had told me that before I bought a seat behind the plate, but it was still only like $40.
Yeah. I spent most of
only like 40 people in there.
I spent most of my time playing with the Stingrays.
But not all domes are dumb.
No.
Arizona's dome is very nice.
Well, and cool maybe. Don't they need that out there? Or a little air conditioning?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we got our top 5 we need to get to. It's the top 5 Major League Baseball players not on your favorite team. And I was thinking about this earlier, and if we're doing the David Letterman thing, since we were earlier with Ty being our Warren Zevon, we almost need a celebrity to come in and read our top 5 list. But everybody's got their list, right?
You got your list, Chris?
I have it in my head.
Awesome.
Oh, he's got it in his head.
I had to recalibrate this morning when I read Todd's text message. I just read part of it. Said top 5 not on your favorite team. So I had this wonderful list that covered all sports.
Oh.
And then I realized it was MLB.
Maybe we'll do that next time. We'll save that because I think Gary probably thought along some of those lines too. So my fault for not fully explaining myself in the text, but we've got our top 5, and I'm going to go first just so I can keep it straight in my head. There's so many of us, but first of all, this guy's not on my list, but maybe one of the major leaguer I admire the most is Roberto Clemente. Now, he died in 72, which I was born in 69, so I never really saw him play. But Roberto Clemente actually died on a charitable trip in a plane crash. Said Roberto Clemente one time, anytime you have an opportunity to make a difference in this world and you don't, then you are wasting your time on Earth.
There you go.
Wow.
Words to live by.
Yeah, Roberto Clemente. Even now, the Major League Baseball charitable award for players is the Roberto Clemente Award, and for the Dominican players, that's a bigger award than the MVP.
Right.
I mean, it really is. Okay, so here's
What an
my number
awesome
5.
pick.
My number 5 is Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose.
Hard to argue with that one.
Ty, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'll go. Of course, I'll reveal my name similar to that down the list, but I've got 2 for number 5. One being Johnny Bench, just solid.
That's a good one.
And George Brett. I threw him in there kind of and I just like that spunk and tenacity of George Brett, and solid at the plate and in the field.
Okay, Gary?
My number 5 played for many teams and referred to himself in the third person. I thought Ricky Henderson was a fantastic player. I liked his swagger.
He's the greatest of all time.
Well, in his mind, and when he stole that base to get the
when he broke Lou Brock's record, he said, "I'm the greatest of all time."
Well,
so
he was definitely the most prolific.
Yes.
Yeah. He was definitely the most prolific. I don't know if his percentage was the greatest. I haven't researched that.
That was a fun thing to watch, though.
But I liked the fact that he had power and speed and played the game in a way that I think was pretty revolutionary to the leadoff position.
More leadoff homers than anybody else in history, I believe.
I think so.
All right, Chris.
Acuna's on the way to catching him, though.
Yeah. Chris, we're up to you at number 5.
Number 5, I'm going to go with the current player that's playing right now, and I follow minor league baseball because the Braves were so bad the last couple of years before we turned it around last year that I needed to have hope for the future. And so I started following a lot of minor league, and I really watched this guy come through the Cubs system, and I'm just a big fan of Javier Baez.
Oh, wow.
I love the way he plays the game, the energy he plays with. He does everything the right way as far as just he's out there having fun, and baseball's supposed to be fun. It's men playing a boys' game, and he just plays with so much energy and fun. And when I thought about this, I was like, how can I not make my number 5 Javi Baez?
Yeah, no argument here. Pretty good number 5s. We're up to number 4. My number 4 has already been mentioned. It's George Brett of Kansas City. When I was growing up, the big question every year seemed to be, will George Brett bat 400? And he almost did a couple of times.
Yeah.
So George Brett at number 4 for me.
Yep, number 4 for me would be Bob Gibson.
That's a good one.
Yeah, hard to beat that grit, guts, and tenacity.
They actually one year changed the rules because of Bob Gibson. You know, he was so dominant that season, actually lowered the mound the next year. Yep. So when you're so good, they changed the game. You know,
it says a lot about you.
Yeah.
And he could hit.
Yes.
He was more than adequate as a hitting pitcher back when pitchers were still doing very poorly, and they made the DH rule later.
Right.
Not in his league, of course, but an aggregate, he was an asset at the plate as well.
And kind of a throwback, you know, he would come in high and tight on you and get you off the plate if you were up there too close to the plate or just looked at him the wrong way.
And was it the 68 World Series where he just had those dominating performances?
Yeah.
Just
3 games.
Yeah, just dominated.
All right, Gary?
My 4th's a little bit more modern, but I was in high school when he debuted. I was amazed with Ken Griffey Jr.'s sweet swing and his amazing defensive abilities, and I thought it was interesting he got to debut with his father.
Yes.
In fact, I believe they hit back-to-back home runs against the Angels.
I think they did.
So I can't remember which one was first. But Ken Griffey Jr., I wish he had not gotten injured. It would have been very interesting to see if he had had a full career. Now, obviously, his speed and in the field and bat speed probably don't play forever, but injuries got him, and the years he was with the Mariners are as good as any 10, 11-year stretch him and Albert Pujols ever had.
Well, and how good were those Mariners teams that he was on? I mean, those were pretty good teams.
Well, they saved baseball in Seattle. They were going to move, but the team with he and Randy Johnson and
Edgar Martinez,
yeah.
I think they kept it there. Now, whether or not they got the benefit of it, because Seattle really didn't do anything with it, but they were going to move. I was pretty certain.
I thought the kid was going to set all the records in baseball. When he started out, I'm like, he's going to get the home run record. He's going to have everything by the time he's done. Like you said, though, he got hurt and couldn't finish his career quite the way he started it, but, yeah, that's a good pick. All right, Chris, up to you at number 4.
Nolan Ryan.
Another good one.
I mean, just the longevity that the guy had, and if nothing else, an old man beating up Robin Ventura was great. I mean, how can you not be on your...
It gives me hope that if someone comes at me at a football game, that maybe at 46 I can still defend myself.
Put him in the headlock and just start knocking.
Don't come at me.
Don't mess with the old man.
But yeah, I mean, and even when he late in his career, he was still dominant, and I mean, that's just how can you not like a Nolan Ryan?
Well, and the dude would throw 200 pitches a game.
As I say, 238 pitches.
He had 7 no-hitters. Yeah. 7.
He's the anti-pitch count.
Yes.
He is. We talk about pitch count, and I know I've got a son who pitches, and I do believe in it, but then you look at someone like Nolan Ryan and think, well, there's freaks everywhere, I guess, that just have it.
There actually is a thought process out there that says the more you throw, the better your arm gets, not the less. So, I mean, I'm not sure which side I want to jump on the bandwagon of, but I've heard several major league pitching coaches say that you need to throw more to strengthen your arm, and of course Nolan Ryan would be the poster child for that.
No doubt.
Well, I believe as you get older and stronger, you probably can throw more, but I am a strong believer in pitch count when you're talking about youth ball players, high school players, even some college players, but the way some of these major league teams baby their pitchers and pulling them out at 100 pitches and limiting their innings. You look at a guy like a Nolan Ryan, just send him out there and let him rip it.
All right, so that's Chris's number 4, and my number 3 is Nolan Ryan. Ty?
My number 3 is Nolan Ryan.
Wow.
My number 2 was. So if you want to just go ahead, we all liked Nolan Ryan. Let the record show these 4 very intelligent baseball fans all liked Nolan Ryan. So what does that say? He may be the only one on all 4 lists.
Yeah, Nolan Ryan, 3 for me, 3 for Ty. Gary, we need your 3. We know you're 2, but we need your 3.
Tony Gwynn.
That's a good one.
That's
Tony
a great
Gwynn.
one.
Almost made my list.
Me too.
What I liked about him was that he was willing to just get a hit. I know that against all analytics now, you're supposed to either strike out, walk, or hit a home run, and anything else is just garbage. But I don't understand why. Do you realize they never shift on him, number one?
No,
never.
He could hit it
He
everywhere.
could hit it anywhere. But if they did shift on him, he would get 297 hits. He would set the record at bat 492 because he would simply go, you're going to give me that? Fine, I'll flick it there. He found holes under a traditional alignment. He's anti-shift, and he was, in his younger days when he was thin, a more than adequate, if not gold glove level fielder. Now, at the end, he did have a problem with his weight, and that probably cost him a year or 2 at the end. But he could still hit, he just couldn't run. So I think that he is a cautionary tale that you do need to keep your body in shape if you're an athlete and you're going to lose. And in fact, I believe that it contributed to his early demise, both probably his weight and his dipping. So the key is you've got to look at Tony Gwynn as a player. He got San Diego to a World Series, and that's pretty rare. It's only happened twice.
Right.
Tough out.
Well, and I think one of the stats I've seen out there someplace before, we all know the pitcher Greg Maddux was.
Yes.
I was getting ready to say that, Todd.
Yeah.
I think Tony Gwynn batted about .425 against Greg Maddux for his career.
Yeah.
Probably the only guy to even approach that kind of success.
And Tony Gwynn was quite a good broadcaster. He got a little chance to do that toward the end of his career, and he was also a college baseball coach. I know those are not things on the list, but I think his body of work, I think baseball lost somebody that could still be
a great ambassador
for the game if he were still alive today.
Okay, Chris, we're up to your number 3.
My number 3, Baltimore Oriole, Eddie Murray.
Oh, wow.
Steady Eddie.
I thought you were going to go Cal Ripken there for a minute when you said Baltimore.
I teased it a little bit.
Yeah.
But Eddie Murray, I loved Eddie Murray. That was one of my early favorite players.
He was solid, though. What a great player he was.
Yeah.
On some really good Baltimore teams.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
All right, so we are up to number 2. My number 2 is from the Boston Red Sox, if you can believe that. Carl Yastrzemski.
He didn't make my list, but he about did. What a great player he was.
If I am correct, I think he was the first person in Major League history to sign a six-figure signing bonus.
Yes.
Held out for $100,000, which is lunch money today, but at the time, it was a big deal.
That's Chris George money you're talking about.
When I was a little boy growing up in Florida, I lived in Central Florida. We go over to Winter Haven, man. You see the Freddie Lynn's, Jim Rice's, and old Yaz would be out there, shagging balls. It was awesome. Gives me chills to think about it.
Looking back, though, how did those Boston teams never win the World Series?
I know.
I mean,
there's three guys that just
the
named
Yankees
right there.
kept them out.
That's right.
But
Big Red Machine in '75.
They were all the AL East, and like you said, the Reds were
Big
good.
Red Machine. Yep. Curse.
But man, how good were those Boston teams? And Yaz was just, he was just a ball player. I mean, that's
a great pick. And my number 2 is right up in there in that line, but several teams, but it's Pete Rose.
Yes.
Yeah, Charlie Hustle. Got to have him on the list.
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't call him Charlie Hustle because he dogged it.
And one of the greatest hitters of all time.
And probably should be in the Hall of Fame, if we want to open that can.
In September of '85, I was on WPKY when he did the record, and I broke in and broke that. That was one of my sports moments, but it was pretty cool.
Do you remember who he got it off of?
Was it Eric Shaw?
Yeah, it was. San Diego.
It was, Yep. Eric Shaw. Yep.
Did not go well for Eric Shaw after that. He did not handle it well.
I wish I could remember stuff from last week as well as I can remember stuff from 1980.
I can't believe I pulled that one out, but I did.
Gary,
well, Todd, that's all of us. We have so much useless sports knowledge and current event knowledge. What happened last week?
Can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday.
That's right.
Gary,
I gave my number 2 was Nolan
that's
Ryan.
Right. You were Nolan Ryan, and we all love Nolan Ryan. Yes. I think we've established that. So, Chris, number 2 to you.
My number 2 is probably the only St. Louis Cardinal I would put on this, and no, it is not Ozzie. I was a huge Vince Coleman fan.
Oh, wow. I thought you were going to go Willie McGee on me, but you went Vince Coleman. Wow.
I went Vince Coleman.
Yeah.
Loved Vince Coleman.
Yeah. He was a table setter, and if he could watch out for tarps, the Cardinals might have another World Series championship. The tarp monster got him in Kansas. Well, it got him in St. Louis, actually, but it cost him the World Series that year, I think. Well, that and there was a call that year at first base, I think. That was 85, right? Yeah. So
I think that's 85.
Sometimes get those mixed up because the Cardinals won in 82, lost to Kansas City in 85, lost to Minnesota Twins in 87, which was the only World Series up until that point where the home team won every game.
Games,
I don't know if that's happened again since, but Vince Coleman was a good one, and he was sort of in that Ricky Henderson vein without the power, but he could steal the bases back when guys were putting up 100 stolen bases in a season.
Right.
And today we don't even see teams steal 100 bases in a season.
Well, they've done the math, and the risk versus reward's not worth it according to the numbers.
Well, and the thing about that drives me nuts is when they put on the shift, and there's literally nobody on the entire left side of the infield. I'm like, just push a bunt that way and get on base and start something, but nobody wants to do that. They just keep on hitting right into the shift, and then people want to ban the shift instead of teaching people how to hit the baseball. But that's my little soapbox for the day.
I think you're spot on.
Yeah, we'll get. I'm sure Chris has a soapbox he wants to get on before we get done here, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Okay, here's my number 1. We've already talked about him. It's Ken Griffey Jr. Again, I thought when he was coming up that he would be the greatest player ever in Major League Baseball history. I'm not sure he got there. That's a whole lot to ask of anybody anyway, but I think he's on the very short list of great players all time.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a great pick, and I haven't heard 2 initials. Of course, you can say there's an asterisk by it, but I haven't heard that name yet. But my number 1 is a Red Sox that could hit, and that's Ted Williams.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of my favorite players. I just never really got to see him.
Yeah, and I didn't either. But
just
a little bit for me. Yeah. But there's just sort of that. I love the name. He had a sporting goods line. He could hit. I loved his interviews, and he's frozen down in Florida.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he has a chance.
He has a chance.
He has a heads-up chance, in my opinion, to come back.
That's exactly right. So I mean, what a player.
What could he have done with the 5 years he missed to war? I mean, his numbers would be insane.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
He was a combat pilot.
He was.
Of the best. He was a fly. It's just one of those people you just think, how do you get that many talents?
at that level. I mean, I don't even have one at that level, and he had multiple ones where he was as good as anybody in the world at what he did.
But hitters like that, a Ted Williams or a Stan Musial, those guys talk about hitting, and they're talking about waiting until the ball gets about 10 feet from the plate to decide whether or not they're going to swing at it. How the heck do you wait that long to pull the trigger?
When you got a half second.
Yeah, I mean, and but they could see the ball a little bit longer
when you have
than everybody
20/15
else.
vision or more.
And that's why they were able to hit the way they were, because they could see the ball longer than normal human beings could.
No doubt. And we all know, I think, I mean, maybe speaking for the group out of turn, but I think one of the hardest things in the world for an athlete to do is hit a baseball with massive movement or just incredible speed.
Both.
Or both. I mean, and that's what you have at that level. So what an incredible talent it is, especially when you're north of 350.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people become pitchers.
Well, he's the last guy to bat 400, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And you brought up Carl Yastrzemski. If I'm not mistaken, other than the war, basically the left fielder for the Boston Red Sox from like 1939 to 1983 was either Ted Williams or Carl Yastrzemski, except for the war years. So they had it locked down for 2 generations.
Yes.
And until just a few years ago, Yaz was the last Triple Crown winner.
Right, till
Cabrera.
Cabrera got it.
2012, I think.
Yes.
So, Gary, did we get your number one?
Yes, I just found Ozzie Smith amazing. I
Wow.
know that Carl, the way I look at him is I think he was more than just a good shortstop. He was a great shortstop. And I enjoyed the fact that he worked on his hitting. He could have stayed in the major leagues with his glove alone and batted .220, and I believe during his early years he kind of did.
Yeah, he did.
But he knew that to help his team, he had to get better, and he stayed within his limitations, but he became a good, solid, average hitter. Yes, he had that one home run that he yanked down the line in '85. I think that's about as far as he could hit a ball, but he did get it over that right field
He
fence.
made himself a passable hitter.
Yes, in fact, he has like over 2,700 hits. Of course, some of that's due to longevity, but still, he hosted those This Week in Baseball shows, or I can't remember the show where they would interview the players, and he's been a very good ambassador for baseball. Yes, I know the Tony La Russa thing at the end was a sour, but by then he had already cemented his legacy as somebody that people my generation, whether they were Cardinal fans or not, they know who the Wizard was. And I just enjoyed watching the way he played.
All right, Chris, we're to you and your number one.
My number one is Bo Jackson.
Wow.
That's a good one.
Just think what could have been had he not been injured.
Or
just stuck with baseball.
In both sports.
Yeah, I mean, he could have played either one and been fine if he could have stayed healthy. But, yeah, baseball, he was one of those guys that was almost too athletic. It was he just kind of broke the mold, I guess.
There is no mold.
There is no mold. And you think about, I'm just in awe of him running up the wall that game. I mean,
oh, yeah.
That highlight they still show, and I'm not going to get in that elevator because I will lose you guys.
I got to see.
I was just going to ask if you were near an elevator.
I heard it. Yeah, I thought it was there in the car, but I got to see him play in the minors. It was I think it was with the Memphis Chicks. Does that sound right?
That's where he started.
Yes, he was the Memphis Chicks.
Yeah, I was at an Orlando Twins game, and they were visiting, and man, it was awesome that he was just to be in the same stadium with that guy.
Yeah.
But I never saw him play as a major leaguer.
Well, the throw he had from the left field
corner.
Oh,
my gosh.
I mean, that's not even human. And what I think people have to realize is, I'll get a little soapbox here. I think baseball has gone to this travel model and the elite model. I think we're not getting the Bo Jacksons of the world to play baseball. These true athletes.
Bo Jackson would have been told
play
you
football.
need to focus on football.
Yes.
Bo.
And in looking at him, how would you not make him a football? But that's one of my biggest rants.
My biggest rant is I hate travel baseball. You are losing too many good kids. There are kids out there, one, that can't afford it.
Right.
But two, they're late bloomers.
Yes.
And they've already been told you're not any good.
Baseball has got to figure out a way to have the Bo Jacksons who are now Bo Jackson, but the kids with that type of athletic ability have got to keep playing baseball because they're told, like you said, at 7 or 8, you're playing AAU basketball or you're going to play football because that's your
your best sport. It's been decided for him. Maybe he's not the greatest hitter when he's 7, but then, they're not any good. I think we're going to lose that kind of player if we don't open up the doors.
I think more high school coaches, even if we're seeing the rise of middle school ball, more coaches have got to just go out and get the raw athletes and say,
we're going to work with you.
Teach you how to play baseball.
Yes.
It doesn't come natural to you yet. I get it. You're a little frustrated because you're not as good in baseball.
Because in football, I just run around you or run over you, right? But in baseball, the skill set has to be developed, and this is definitely a sad thing. Because if you look at baseball, I don't see a Bo Jackson. I don't see that kid playing baseball.
Okay, you're listening to the Sideline Report on WPKY, Princeton, Kentucky. I think Chris finally got on that elevator, so Chris, we're going to let you go, but anything else you want to add before we get out of here today?
Not the guys. I appreciate being on like always, and I still want to be in the studio one day.
Absolutely. The door's always open,
I'm just going to
man.
make a Thursday morning trip to Princeton, maybe before school starts, so I can be in the studio.
That'd be great.
That's where I want to be.
Yeah, we'll get the gang back together again. Thanks, Chris.
All right, guys.
Have a good day, bud.
Later.
Bye, Chris.
That's Chris George on an elevator somewhere in Atlanta. So
5th floor, tools, hardware.
You could hear I think he was just kind of going from floor to floor. Ding, 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 ding.
He's like that kid when I'm going to these conferences. I'm going to hit every button. You're going to stop at every floor. Okay.
Well, that was a fun top 5 today. It actually worked out even better than I thought it would.
And Chris and Gary, and I love everybody's perspective because it's always unique and different what all of us kind of bring to the table with those picks, and then what really initiates the conversation about these guys.
And I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that have their top 5. That'd be great, too. You can send them to us, and we'd be glad to take a look at those and maybe even talk about them on a future show or something. But I'm a little surprised that the Running Redbirds from the 80s got a little mention with Vince Coleman, and Gary mentioned Ozzie, and so...
No, and the player I was referring to was Barry Bonds, of course. A little controversy there, but yet, I mean, you can't deny a lot of the things he did on the field. Whether it's at the plate, out in the field, and, you hate that. It's kind of a Pete Rose kind of thing, but, man.
But I think my interest in baseball kind of waned there, though, because in the 90s you had the strike, and
like
that kind of messed it up for me. I didn't like the strike, and one year we didn't even have a World Series.
Exactly.
Then
25 years ago.
The whole steroid thing came in, and I think that's why I look back to the 70s and 80s with such fondness, and that's where all my guys probably came from, is because I kind of tuned out when all the bad things kind of injected themselves into baseball.
And that's when we were out there on those sand lots, thinking that maybe we'll be there someday. And we looked up to those guys, and that's kind of really what it was about, and our love for baseball, I think, really formed to this day.
But also back then, when a game was on TV, we watched it.
That's
Not
right.
just if our team was in it.
Because it was an event.
Right.
Yes.
Unless you had the Braves or the Cubs blasting Superstation 150
right.
games. Other than that.
Hey, I kind of like that.
Well, it was good times.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming on the show this morning, and anything else anybody wants to add before the show ends? Gary?
We're in the dead period now, so hopefully the student athletes will get the rest that they need to rejuvenate their bodies and their minds, because as you're seeing on yoursportsedge.com, there is a lot of summer activity. These kids are working hard. The coaches are working hard. They make about 72 cents an hour, so that's good to know if you're interested in that for augmenting your income. But it's a good thing. I think the dead period is a good thing, and I think that what we've got to look at is when we come back in mid-July, you're going to definitely have to look into keeping up through Todd Griffin and all the people there, because you're going to have volleyball, soccer. We've got a new boys soccer coach. Football is going to be going full bore as it always is. Got a new district. Take some time to be with your family these weeks, because there's going to be plenty of sports action coming your way when this dead period ends, I believe, on the 10th. Of July.
Yeah, and I encourage everybody to get on yoursportsedge.com, vote for their fan faves. That's going on through July. All kinds of there's 21 different categories there, so you can get on there and vote. And
lots of Caldwell County players on there, if you will.
Some Caldwell County sports moms, and we've been promoting those during the morning show. and invite you to get on there and vote for your favorite. And the high school football team selling peaches as well. So see a high school player for a fresh box of really great peaches or one of the coaches.
And if there's one thing I know too well, it's that, you sit here today and think, well, the season's almost 2 months away, but that 2 months, once the dead period clears and everybody gets back to work.
Snap your fingers, man.
August gets here quickly. So, the fall seasons will be upon us quick.
And the Tigers back in 2A where I feel like they belong, and I can't wait. It's going to be a great opening with Christian County, even though that's not it's a great rivalry. And so we're looking forward to that's August 23rd, I do believe.
Yes, and then the next week, Owensboro Apollo is here for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So
going to be a great start to the season.
Getting in promotion mode already.
Yeah.
Thanks for the plugs for yoursportsedge.com. And that's Ty Englebright. That's Gary Goodaker. Thanks to Chris George for joining us on the phone as well. And that's going to wrap it up on the Sideline Report. This is Todd Griffin of WPKY Radio and yoursportsedge.com. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Sideline Report on 1580 103.3 WPKY.
Serving Caldwell County since 1950. We're 1580, 103.3 WPKY Princeton.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. 10 Democrats on stage at the first debate of the 2020 presidential campaign in Miami with a lot of talk about income inequality.
Who is this economy really working for?